The death toll keeps rising after devastating earthquakes hit parts of southeastern Turkey and northern Syria. The initial quake, which measured 7.8 on the Richter scale, is among the most powerful to hit the region in a century, and thousands of lives have been lost. Major rescue operations are underway and an international aid effort is getting into gear. Our correspondent Rosie Birchard has been tracking the global response to this particular disaster, and she joins us live now. Rosie, thank you so much for your time. Bring us the latest. What do we know so far?
Well, we've been watching this for hours, and I have to say that each hour things just appear to be getting worse. The death toll is now in four figures, standing at least 2,000 lives lost since these deadly earthquakes, which essentially ripped right along the region where Turkey and Syria border each other. Now, a major search for survivors is underway. Thousands of buildings are said to have collapsed, and that means that rescuers are really combing through the rubble, trying to find and identify survivors, and of course that is increasingly difficult given the risk of aftershocks. Authorities in the region have been calling on blood donations because of the many that have been injured, and really the scale of the destruction just seems to be getting clearer by the hour here. An absolutely devastating incident which has claimed many lives and many more injured, and international efforts, as I said, underway to try and respond to this disaster.
And what do those international efforts look like? What is the international community doing to help?
Let's start here in Brussels. The European Union, headquartered in this building behind me, has sent at least 10 search and rescue teams from countries including Romania, Bulgaria, Greece and the Netherlands that will be going to help those first responders on the ground in Turkey. Beyond that, Turkey has also asked NATO for specific help, and that includes field hospitals, trained medical teams, and they have asked specifically for weatherproof field hospitals because this region is in the midst of winter, so there are below freezing temperatures in some of the areas that have been hit by these earthquakes. But there's really a broad constellation of countries which are stepping up to offer support here, not only just from here in Brussels and Europe, but also from the United States, India, China, Russia. Certainly lots of international offers of help pouring in for this region, which has been struck by an absolute disaster.
Some of the Syrian regions, hit by this deadly earthquake have also been scarred by, years of civil war. And I wonder, how does this affect the efforts, rather, to get help? I mean, particularly to those people in these areas.
Well, I think we can say that some of those that will have been impacted by this deadly incident will already have been refugees that have fled fighting in the broader region. This conflict within Syria has been dragging on for years, and millions have been displaced within the region overall. Now, that's something the Norwegian Refugee Council has pointed to. It says this situation will only worsen the burden on those refugees, of course, in the middle of winter. Now, what complicates aid efforts here is that some of those regions along the border which are impacted are held by opposition, are held by rebels in Syria, and that can mean that in terms of bilateral aid donations there might be issues in terms of border crossings, in terms of who do you speak to. For example, the European Union no longer has an actual embassy in Damascus, in the Syrian capital. It's instead in neighbouring Lebanon, and officials and diplomats usually make trips in. But we have heard from international observers and countries pledging that they will keep up support to Syria, though it will likely be complicated by the situation. That actually puts a bigger onus even on those international organisations which are operating on the ground, the likes of the World Health Organization, the United Nations, which are mobilising their teams, because often those are the organisations which step in when bilateral and multilateral relations fail in what seems to be quite a dire situation. The WHO has activated its emergency response teams in the region to respond to and try and provide urgent medical care to the many who are injured.
And you can only imagine the clock is ticking. And if there's still some of these, complications, one can only wonder just how quickly help gets there. Rosie, thank you so much for your time. Let's keep watching this one and see what really happens as this desperate situation continues to unfold. That is Rosie Birchard, our correspondent there, coming to us live from Brussels.